We're just 10 days before the start of COP27, this year's climate summit. In the next weeks, a lot of eyes will be on Sharm El Sheikh, where negotiators will have to make further progress in keeping the global temperature rise below 1.5 degrees Celsius and look for breakthroughs in how to finance the global climate transition. To tackle this climate crisis, global ambition in cutting greenhouse gas emissions must increase. No amount of funding will ever suffice to keep the consequences of a 3 or 4 degree world in check. Each country must set ambitious targets and carry out the policies to implement them. This applies in particular to the world's major economies, who represent 80% of global emissions. In the European Union, we're fully committed to the European Green Deal and achieving climate neutrality by 2050. This is an ambition set in law and underpinned with a concrete plan. Our Fit for 55 package is now in the final stages of negotiation. In other words, the EU is on the verge of adopting a coherent set of measures that will actually get us there. Since February of this year, we've had to deal with the impact of Putin's war of aggression against Ukraine and his weaponizing of energy. And as we work to secure energy supplies and alleviate the burden of high energy costs, we're not losing sight of the fact that we also have a climate crisis ongoing. We cannot tackle one without tackling the other. The transition to renewable energy is our ticket out of this energy crisis. It is why we're speeding up the decarbonization of our economies and ramping up energy savings. The European Union is not just staying the course, the geopolitical situation is strengthening our resolve. Of course, Europe's green transition cannot happen without the necessary private and public financing, the very focus of our discussions here. On the one hand, because implementing the Green Deal requires specific investments. We've calculated at 520 billion euros per year. And on the other hand, because the climate crisis in itself is a financial risk. And what goes in Europe goes across the world. Public finance plays an important role, and developed nations have to support climate-vulnerable countries in both the transition and in adapting to the consequences of the climate crisis that are already here. The EU and its member states are the world's largest contributors of climate finance. We continuously seek to increase and improve this support. But we cannot do this alone. Other developed countries need to follow through, whether on delivering the $100 billion goal or on doubling adaptation finance. And we need private investment. This is absolutely critical. To reach the goals of the Paris Agreement, we need to shift trillions, and public finance alone can never be enough. With regulatory security, a stronger role for multilateral development banks, and a review of the global financial architecture, we can start that shift in earnest. Against this backdrop, the upcoming COP27 is not just a place to discuss the level of global climate ambition in this critical decade. It's also the place to make progress on discussions around climate adaptation, loss and damage, and to reconfirm our resolve in supporting vulnerable partners. Loss and damage associated with the adverse effect of climate change is an increasingly serious challenge. The European Union is committed to strengthening and scaling up support for the institutions and initiatives that already assist vulnerable communities. And we have supported including this topic on the agenda of COP27 so that countries can discuss together the best ways to do so. In the coming weeks, we'll continue to work hard with international partners for the best possible outcome in Sharm El Sheikh. The European Union has been leading in the fight against climate change. It is truly an existential challenge which pervades every aspect of life and every sector of our economy. I therefore count on your support and cooperation as we move towards a climate-neutral, healthy future for all.